Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity. Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity.
Hey there, it's Brie and welcome to today's video where we will be talking about the worst experiences of books that I had for this 2023 season of reading. The worst books of the year, the ones that I disliked the most, my least favorites, however you want to word it. These are books that I either didn't like actively really didn't like, or severely disappointed me. And because I didn't have a full 10 1 and 2 star books, so I kind of snuck in like some dishonorable I guess mentions, mostly 1 and 2 stars, and then 2 dishonorable mentions. Let's start out with our dishonorable mentions. Little shout out to The Tattooist of Auschwitz. I didn't hate reading this, although if you go back and watch my quarterly wrap up for quarter 3, you can hear me talk a bit about some of my hardships with books like this. The reason this is a dishonorable mention is not because the book itself is bad, but because it is based off of a true story. However, it's not super historically accurate, which makes me wonder how accurate it is to the actual real life story that the author went and interviewed the guy about. Like, I don't know how true it is to the actual real life people that it's supposed to be telling the story of. And yes, you have a little bit of artistic liberty, but at the same time, if you can't even be historically accurate, then it makes me feel a little concerned. I'm done with Holocaust related stories. I don't really need to read them. It didn't add value to my life. It just taught me that I can in fact read some books related to things that are hard for me and not end up in a mental spiral, but that doesn't mean I should push it. Not something that I need to learn more about. I've studied it many times. So I think we're good. Honorable mention number 2 is another one that I gave 3 stars, and that is Love Letters for Joy. The reason this is an honorable mention is because I was so excited about this book. If I hadn't been so excited and loved the concept so much, then it wouldn't have ended up on the honorable mentions. But I happen to love books that are told with a kind of epistolary format. There was just some things that were frustrating for me, and it kind of just let me down due to that. And so it is an dishonorable mention. Okay, I do have 2 more dishonorable mentions. A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I didn't bring it in here and I'm not gonna go get it, but it was going well. The concept was great, but unfortunately the ending did not work for me, so it ended up being a 3. And then the other one that makes me sad is The Ocean at the End of the Lane. And the reason is because I think it's a me problem more than a book problem, perhaps, because it seems like everybody else is like, this was so good, but I can't get past the grossness of the worm situation combined with the grossness of what he saw situation, and the fact that that represents to me a worm of a man and a worm getting together, and I just, yeah. So anyways, that was a weird one for me. I don't know about it. And so because I have such mixed feelings about it, I'm listing it here. Let's go ahead and get into the actual books that are least favorites or worst experiences, ones I didn't like at all books. The Decameron Project. The Decameron Project is inspired by this book called The Decameron that was written back during, was it the bubonic plague? I think it was. It's this very long book, short story collection that is supposed to be healing and uplifting and all these just different stories that, from what I understand, they're not like about the plague itself, whereas this is just about COVID. It's just about the pandemic. It's very, very flat. Most of the stories in here have no substance to them. They don't offer anything interesting or unique or helpful or hopeful or sympathetic or empathetic or like anything. It doesn't give you anything. There are a few good stories in here, but that's it. Yeah, escapist stories. escapist stories. It's talking about it in the introduction that the Decameron book was escapist stories. And I think that the way that they prompted the authors was probably a huge part of the problem. But also some of these authors should not be writing short stories. I talk about this more in my flowery vlog, my reading books with flowers on the cover vlog for April showers, May flowers. Laura Dean keeps breaking up with me. This book is really just not for me, and I really don't think this author is for me. This is the second book that I've read from them, and I disliked it a lot. It was really a waste of my time, I feel like, to read. Granted, I picked it up specifically to fill a prompt for a readathon. However, I really don't think that this author is for me. The premise of the story was already kind of annoying, so it not playing out in a, you know, specifically helpful or strong way that like was unique or different or anything other than you anticipated was kind of annoying. I should not have picked it up. This is The Way the World Ends next, and the reason is because I think this is partially a me problem as well. So this is a book by Jen Wilde, who also wrote Queens of Geek, which I read several years ago and loved. It's a nerd story. It's diverse with the representation. From the pitch, led me to believe that it was going to be a kind of like angsty, like give me Gossip Girl vibes. That's what I was expecting from this book. It's not at all. And I don't like this type of story where it's like everyone that's in a certain category or group is evil. That generalization, I hate that. And so it's written in books. It really drives me nuts. And while some of that is on me, some of it is also on the book, for sure, and on the marketing for the book. Let's go with Here There Are Monsters. This book was a great concept and a very weak execution. In this story, we're following a sister who has lost her younger sister, gone missing, not lost her, like she's gone missing, and she was watching her, so she feels extra guilty about it. So they are trying to find the sister, and she's sitting there complaining about the fact that she's not allowed to go help. And we spent the first half, at least, of the book to 3/4. I think honestly the first 3/4 of the book are literally just that over and over again. And then the last quarter, the whimsy and magic of the horror comes in, and that's it. That's it. The whole first, like from here to here, is literally just the sitting there and not being allowed to go look for your sister. This is the only part that actually was horrific, and I hated the way it was done. The choices didn't make sense. The forced choice, like what we were told we had to choose, didn't make sense. The speed with which it happened did not make sense. The choice that the character made, considering everything that we've seen so far, did not make sense. And there was not any sprinklings of actual whimsy throughout the beginning part. So when we got to the part where there was actually supposed to be magical stuff happening, it wasn't like super shocking in the right way, because it wasn't like sprinkled throughout. So it was just like, oh, this is a completely different story than we've been reading for the past 200 pages. Literally 200 pages worth of nothing. And then the last 100, we suddenly have magic and whimsy and weirdness. It was not well done, and I was very sad. Save the Date by Morgan Matson. As a person who has enjoyed my previous experiences with Morgan Matson, I went into this as my attempt to add a kind of third times a charm style a la Books and Lala video concept, where I was going to read books from authors that I've read from before and kind of decide how I was going to continue with that author, and I'm going to call it author DTR, defining the relationship with the author. is basically the plan. And this is one of the videos you will see in February, me talking about Morgan Matson. And not to spoil anything, but I read this book first. And let's just say I had to try again with Morgan Matson after that. And I was like, this can't, there's no way. This has to be a glitch or a fluke. Because the other 2 books that I've read from Morgan Matson, I loved. So the fact that I actively disliked this book, and it kind of made me rant a couple times, and I had to edit the video a lot, trying to cut the rants back out. Yeah. Yikes. This is about a girl whose sister's getting married. Her mom used to write this comic strip that's based basically right on their life, and so she would literally just write life events into the comic strip. Everything keeps going wrong, but it's extremely ridiculous levels of it, like over the top. As a person who has been to and has been involved in lots of weddings, this is not realistic at all. For more of my thoughts on Morgan Matson though, you will need, and why I was so annoyed by this book, you will need to go to the video where I talk about it. I have 2 more books that also will have content coming out based on them, or already have content based on them. So let's do the one that has content coming out about it, and that is Nothing But Blackened Teeth. I am going to be talking about this in a video, but suffice it to say that my review on Goodreads is as follows. The title is wrong. It should be called Nothing But Blackened Paper, because that's all it is, just black ink on paper. So there's nothing to gain from this story. It's not spooky in the right way. It's just plain dumb to me. Like the whole, like, there's no inspiration, no motivation behind it. It makes no sense. It's weird, not in the right way. Like, it makes no sense why these characters even came together, really, because they seem to hate each other, and there seems to be so much tension that they wouldn't have actually planned to get together in the first place. It's just, I really wish I had not bothered to give it a shot. The last one has a video that was my first book of the year that I read this year. And this book has a video dedicated to it, and that is The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. If this had been the first Nicholas Sparks book that I had read, I would never have picked up another Nicholas Sparks book. Never. Because I read Safe Haven first, I actually went into this hopeful. I went into it blind as well. I really knew nothing. I did not know that this was entirely a story of infidelity that romanticizes infidelity, and that is extremely toxic and problematic and trash. It made me very sad for society that it was like, how is this so popular? How is this, like, everybody was freaking out over it? Why does everybody talk about reading or watching The Notebook and crying? So tell me some books that really burned you this year. I would love to know. We're gonna talk about some books that I loved or really enjoyed for the next video. So instead of doing like a traditional list of 10 favorites, I'm gonna do like a little bit different, just because I'm not good at picking favorite things. So I just kind of pulled out like everything that I 5-starred. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, whatever time it is for you. Make sure you subscribe to join the Bear Scouts and click the notifications so that you can know when I post, and then I'll see you again very soon. Peace out, Bear Scouts.
Look for the bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your stress. I mean it, bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life. Yeah. the bare necessities of life.
Dear man,